Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island, considered by many to be one of, if not the greatest Scooby-Doo movie ever made. A movie so good that the case could be made that it saved the Scooby-Doo brand. Let me explain. We live in a world in which a new direct-to-video Scooby-Doo movie comes out every year, sometimes even twice. That was not the case in the 90s. At that point, the Scooby brand was clearly starting to waver. It's understandable, of course. Scooby-Doo had existed since the 60s. What probably didn't help was how many other Hanna-Barbera shows had the same setup of teens and a talking animal, or a car, or a ghost solve mysteries. Pre-Zombie Island, the current version of the show was a pup named Scooby Doo, a more outright comedic show that often joked about the previous show's formula. And the last movie had been Scooby-Doo and Arabian Nights, which isn't even a Scooby-Doo movie. It just used Shaggy and Scooby as a stand-in to adapt 1001 Nights, using Hanna-Barbera characters. The interesting thing about that, though, is that in the 90s, due to reruns courtesy of the Cartoon Network, kids were starting to get into Scooby-Doo again, prompting them to create a new Scooby-Doo movie. Enter Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island. This movie actually being the first time Warner Brothers had gotten involved with Scooby-Doo, given that around this time, they were in the middle of absorbing Hanna-Barbera into itself. An interesting fact about the movie is that besides Frank Welker, all the rest of the Scooby Gang got recast. In particular, this is the first Scooby-Doo property without Scooby's original voice actor, Don Messick, due to him having passed the year before in 1997, the movie being dedicated to him. Casey Kasem also didn't come back as Shaggy because he quit the role in 1995 after they asked him to play Shaggy in a Burger King commercial, refusing on the grounds of being an outspoken vegan. And keep in mind, this was not Kasem's first rodeo. He had also quit the 80s Transformers due to being Lebanese and taking exception to their portrayal of the Middle East through the nation of Karbamia. So, in Zombie Island, Shaggy is played by Billy West. Kasem took back the role in 2002 when Shaggy was made a vegan, staying on until 2010 to be replaced by Matthew Lillard. Anyway, this movie's success started the 90s quadrilogy, where a now older and wiser gang investigated real monsters. This eventually led us to a world in which a Scooby-Doo movie came out every year and found a way to cross over with them supernatural boys. Look how big my mouth is! Alright, so, the movie begins mid-mystery with the gang trapping their current quarry, the Moat Monster, scored to a cover version of the original theme song performed by Third Eye Blind. After capturing the monster, it's revealed this was actually Daphne describing the adventure on a talk show. You see, the gang, despite living a semi-charmed kind of life, amiably went their separate ways a year ago, due in part to never actually finding anything really supernatural, only various taxmen in monster costumes, each going off to pursue their own interests. Daphne and Fred, in particular, have actually started Coast to Coast with Daphne Blake, a TV series focusing on showcasing Americana. Daphne is actually on the show to explain that they're going to be doing a segment on the supernatural called Haunted America, intending to actually find real evidence of the supernatural. In the process, she reveals that she misses the old gang, which gives Fred an idea. After calling Velma, who now owns her own bookstore, and Shaggy and Scooby, who are working for customs enforcement, I use the past tense because they ate all the contraband and got fired, Fred surprises Daphne for her birthday. Happy birthday, Daphne! Fred has actually assembled the gang to help Daphne with her new show, including a new mystery machine. The first stop is New Orleans. One quick montage later, Daphne is lamenting the fact that it's business as usual with them only ever finding more guys in masks.
Just like the good old days. Too much like the good old days.
Daphne's grievances are actually overheard by a local Orleanian, Lena Dupree, who works as a chef on a pepper plantation on Moonscar Island for one Simone Lenoir. Lena tells them that Moonscar Island is haunted by the pirate captain Morgan Moonscar. As it turns out, while they were talking, Velma looked the island up, and it seems like the island has had some reports of people disappearing over the years. Grabbing Scooby and Shaggy, they decide to follow Lena onto a ferry captained by Jacques, voiced by Jim Cummings. Apparently Jim is one of the few actors who can pull off a Cajun accent, doing so also on The Princess and the Frog. Barring Shaggy and Scooby almost getting eaten by gators, and irritating a local, Snakebite Scruggs, played by Mark Hamill and his boar, the gang arrives at Moonscar Island without any incident. From here, in addition to Simone, you also meet her current gardener, Bo, and her multitude of cats that roam the island who don't take kindly to Scooby. Anyway, Simone takes Daphne, Velma, and Fred into her parlor. Meanwhile, Lena gets Shaggy and Scooby some gumbo and hot peppers. Their chowdown is interrupted by a sudden cold breeze, which is revealed to be an apparition currently slashing a message into the wall. Acting fast, Daphne reports on the message, which, while she's talking, gets a beware added to it. While reviewing the tape, they're able to discern that it was the ghost of Morgan Moonscar who slashed the message into the wall. On a lark, Velma scrapes the paint off to reveal that the plantation is made of Morgan's ship, the Maelstrom, Simone revealing that it's possible Moonscar left behind some treasure.
Treasure? Aha! I knew it!
To be fair, under normal circumstances, that's probably what it would have been. Later that day, Scooby runs into Snakebite again, and he sticks his hog on him, causing Shaggy, who was nearby, to fall into a giant hole with Scooby. Whilst trying to get out, a clump of dirt falls away to reveal a skeleton, which, after being bathed in let's go with ghostly essence, reanimates into a Morgan Moonscar zombie. Getting out of the hole and fleeing, they run into the rest of the gang, and Bo, who reveals that he was the one who dug the hole. At this point, Velma, still operating under the belief that this is just another one of their mysteries, suspects that Bo is the culprit. Deciding to stay the night, during some quick maintenance on the soul patch, Shaggy sees a different ghost. After reporting back to the gang, Velma checks the backside of the mirror.
Property of Colonel Jackson T. Pettigrew, 8th Louisiana.
Simone reveals that there used to be a Confederate barracks on the island. Now at dinner, after inquiring about Bo, Simone explains that he usually has his meals in his room above the garage.
I brought him some food, but he wasn't there.
Also, she explains that Bo's only been on the island for a couple of months. During their dinner, Velma and Fred can only assume that what's been going on is just more of the same of somebody, possibly Bo, using local legend to get away with a crime of some kind. Daphne believing there is something supernatural going on.
For once, can't you accept that maybe there are some mysteries that have no rational explanation?
Due to Scooby being unable to control himself around the cats, he and Shaggy take their meal into the Mystery Machine, driving to a more covert spot to eat in peace away from their feline audience. Ingesting some of the island's famous peppers, they dunk their heads in a pond to get some water, encountering some waterlogged soldiers and pirates. Fleeing by van, then on foot, their screams are overheard and the rest of the gang springs into action to help them, running into Bo again. Splitting up to find Scooby and Shaggy quicker, Velma goes with Bo to keep an eye on him. During this, Bo saves Velma from some quicksand, with Fred and Daphne finding the van and subduing a zombie. They find Shaggy and Scooby moments later, as they attempt to unmask the zombie, revealing what you've probably already figured out since this movie was released almost 30 years ago.
Real!
Immediately afterwards, a storm kicks up, waking up a bunch more zombies, leading to them losing the camera to quicksand and being chased to probably the movie's most iconic song. It's terror time again. 'Cause it's terror time again! The sequence also provides a small hint to what's really going on. In the aftermath, Daphne and Fred find Velma and Bo, and Shaggy and Scooby find a cave with wax figures that look like the rest of the gang and Bo, which, unbeknownst to them, actually do something. Being interrupted by a literal cave full of bats, running off into the night. Back at the plantation, the rest of the gang and Bo are searching for Lena and Simone, finding an underground passageway where Lena claims the zombies drag Simone further in. Following the tunnel, it's revealed that in fact Simone wasn't kidnapped. Lena led them into a trap. Using the dolls Shaggy and Scooby found earlier, they subdue the gang and Bo. Apparently, they never bothered to make ones for Shaggy and Scooby, citing it as being a waste of wax. Informing them that they've now been captured, they're going to steal their life essence, revealing that Simone isn't just a cat person, she and Lena are also cat people. Admit it, you probably weren't expecting monster cat people, were you? Anyway, the deal is that with every harvest moon, Simone needs to drain some people to maintain her immortality. About 200 years ago, Morgan Moonscar landed on the island killing the inhabitants. The only survivors of the early settlers were Lena and Simone, who prayed to their cat god for revenge on Moonscar, transforming them into their current cat-like state.
We became cat creatures and destroyed the pirates.
The problem was getting the revenge cursed them too, and over the years boats kept showing up, including the original pepper growers, making these new people easy picking for their rituals. Over the years, Lena has had to coerce people into coming to the island the same way she did to the gang. This is why they also turned Jacques, who at present is chasing Scooby and Shaggy after they made their way to his boat. Jacques is just about to hurt them when he gets stopped by the zombies, revealing that the zombies are actually the remnants of all their victims. So, in reality, the zombies were trying to warn them. Not so much in a we're gonna hurt you kind of way, but more in a Jordan Peele sort of way. Simone and Lena are just about to start draining when Shaggy and Scooby fumble their way into the cave, forcing them into their full cat creature forms, with Shaggy and Scooby unaware of the zombies being on their side after they come in.
Shaggy! The zombies are the good guys!
I mean, a bunch of them were still Confederate soldiers, so that's debatable, but whatever. Jacques coming into the cave as well. In the middle of the chaos, Velma gets free using her doll, and while Shaggy and Scooby almost get drained, they take control of Lena and Simone, repurposing the dolls. Just as the cats are about to finish the job, they realize that because it took them so long to subdue the gang, a clock ran out on the harvest moon. The zombies not being too far behind given they've just been avenged. In the aftermath, it turns out that Bo's an undercover cop who was actively trying to figure out the cause of the disappearances.
Jinkies! So that's why you were digging around.
Yes, ma'am. Just trying to dig up evidence.
As the sun rises over Moonscar Island, the gang and Bo head back to the mainland with a couple of feline stowaways.